Jesus Christ. Frank, were we on the air the whole time?
I don't know, man. I kind of lost myself.
I smoked this friggin' dynamite weed, and I don't know what the fuck happened. Oh my god. It does feel like we're in the Twilight Zone. I mean, I had this horrible nightmare that I went on Facebook and I talked about how much I think John Cena should win the belt. I mean, Frank, am I on drugs?
No, I think you just stepped into the Twilight Zone.
Oh my god. I mean, if that's what the fucking Twilight Zone feels like, I'm better off here on Earth.
You stepped into the Twilight Zone where one guy was a hero, a man among men, a god among gods, and he just took over, and nobody could shine his shoes.
I'll tell you one thing right now, Frank. I don't want to fucking step back. I don't want to step back into that fucking world again. I mean, I felt like I lost my mind tonight, but, you know, I feel...
Champion of champions.
Well, let's get into SummerSlam. We have, Jesus Christ, we finally have Kevin Owens versus Cesaro added to the card. I personally hope that Cesaro and Kevin Owens have the best match of the night, so that way Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon have to eat shit. What do you have to say to that?
I think they will have a very, very good match. Excellent match. About 10 minutes. For about 10. Well, yeah, they're going 4 hours, so they'll probably give them guys 12, 15 minutes. And I think Cesaro will pull it off. I think he'll pull it off at the end. Because he's got that extra... he's got that sizzle right now, so they give it a little push. So I think he'll come up on top.
Do they change anyone's minds with their performance, or does everything just stay the same?
Well, I hope Cesaro, and it can't hurt Owens if they have a great match. You know, they'll show that they both have the ability to perform a great match, which we know we do. But I think it'll help Cesaro. But what can he do next after that? Does he go on Raw and get pinned the next night?
I don't know.
That's nothing then.
No, wouldn't be the first time WWE wasted everybody's time, but it is what it is. Then we got Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Something is telling me that Dean Ambrose is going to turn heel on Roman Reigns, which I think would be a fucking slap in the face to the fans because they love him. If anybody should be turning heel, it should be Roman Reigns. Not because I dislike him, because I actually do like him. I think the money in him is him as a heel, because he's got that jock-type air about him. I don't know. What do you think about that, Frank?
I probably don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to have another great match, because they always do, and probably nothing will happen. But I'm going to turn Dean Ambrose heel. He's much too popular. And if you turn Reigns heel, then that means Cena wins the belt, and you start an immediate feud the next time in a row with Reigns as a heel and Cena as the champion. That's the only way I justify it. That's the only way I would justify any Cena winning or Reigns turning heel.
Now we also have the Divas match, which it's the 3 teams against each other. And I'm going with the PCB. I think Charlotte, Becky, and Paige are going to win. I don't see Team Bad winning, and I don't see the Bella's team winning. What about you, Frank?
I think the Bellas will probably win that. Yeah, it's pay-per-view. They're gonna win it.
They do that in Brooklyn. That'll be interesting to see. The fans are definitely not going to like it. But remember, this is the WWE, so who gives a fuck about the fans?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got U.S. Champion John Cena versus World Champion Seth Rollins. I have no doubt in my mind Cena's walking out with the belts.
If I was a betting man, I'll probably say Seth Rollins, and there'll probably be some funny business at the end.
Yeah, because God forbid John Cena does a clean job. Fuck him.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck him. Fuck his fan base. Next, we got Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. My heart says Undertaker. My head says Brock Lesnar. I'm going with my head.
The Undertaker will get the win back, or Sting interferes at the end, setting up a feud. I don't see how you go any other way. Undertaker losing would be bad because, he's got to go into his last WrestleMania match. And personally, I don't think Brock Lesnar losing would be any good. So if you want to take a Sting match, do it right there.
It would make sense, which means it won't happen. Think about that. We were able to go through the SummerSlam card in a matter of 4.5 minutes with a minute and a half worth of bullshitting.
And we got Orton and Sheamus, right?
Has that match even been announced?
I think so. I think Sheamus will win that match.
Anytime Orton and Sheamus face each other, I could care less.
Yeah, it pretty much doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. Because
it seems to me that they're shaping up Sheamus to be the major heel in the company.
Why, I don't know.
Well, he's going to get his push because he's got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie coming out. When is that coming out? Next summer? Next June?
My friend Larry actually made that point, that the only reason he's going to get that belt is because of the role in the movie he's playing.
Oh, of course. He's going to cash that and get the belt. Even if it's for a month, they're going to make him promote the movie with the belt.
I'm actually, I don't mean to interrupt our broadcast, but I went on my Facebook page and I saw something that our friend Lawrence Ortiz wrote. I want to read to you what he wrote, which I just find it to be absolutely hysterical. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the close acquaintances of one James Joseph Faluca, I would like to apologize for this post. Moments before, the man in question suffered a traumatic mental episode and was for 20 minutes straight violently ranting about one performer named explicit deleted for subjected trigger words. James has been subdued and is now under heavy sedation, watching nothing but Attitude Era Raws, pay-per-views, and NXT. We thank you for your love and support in these troubled times. Pray for this man, folks, for I witnessed the complete mental ruination of a grown man. Dedicated to Ian Eustick and Christian Caputo, who tragically lost their lives during James's psychotic episode. See this full mental breakdown and more on the WWE Network for only $9.99. I mean, how funny is that?
Stop living in the past, please.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, why?
It was overrated. The Attitude Era was overrated. It really wasn't good. And if you really look at history, it's when Cena came on the scene is when WWE took off.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the second John Cena showed up, the fucking ratings skyrocketed. You know, the guy was putting on 5-star matches from the very beginning. Didn't matter who he worked with. I mean, what bothers me, Frank, like I said earlier, people actually believe it. These people have mental issues. Everyone says I'm fucking crazy. But people that buy that bullshit, they need to be checked into a mental institution.
I don't know about that, but how could you argue with a man? That's all I'm saying.
I give up. I could just simply, all I can do at this point is point out what I see and not give a fuck. They want to ruin, my mindset now is simple, Frank. They want to ruin their young stars' careers. They want to ruin their promising, talented careers. They want to ruin those people. Go right ahead. Continue to paint yourself into a corner. I'm going to point and laugh at them. Like I was talking to Ian tonight about the government. Because the politics have gotten so bad in this country, where you got guys like Governor Christie turning around saying, "Oh, the NSA shouldn't have to ask for a warrant because because then it requires probable cause." That's the whole fucking point of the Fourth Amendment. You imbecile. How could you run for president and not know the fucking laws of the country?
James, they have to do that because there's terrorists all over the place. Don't you understand? There's terrorists under your table right now. There's a terrorist room outside your house, and these guys gotta act quick.
And the funny thing is,
everything's not a conspiracy theory, James.
I believe in the words of Colonel L. Fletcher Prouty.
Oh, here we go.
Nothing just happens. Nothing just happens. Everything is planned.
Oh, well, you think there's actually people that stay up at night, like thinking about stuff like how to do stuff? What? I don't understand. What are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to
stay up late at night thinking about how John Cena should be the number one guy.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. James, you read too many books. I don't know what you did.
I know. I read way too many books instead of watching television like a fucking zombie, like most of you do.
Stop reading books. You're not learning anything. That's all garbage.
Yeah, it's all garbage. Absolutely, it's all garbage. I mean, why the hell would I want to learn? Why would I want to learn that we lost 58,000 troops in the Vietnam War? In the Vietnam War, and I know a lot of people who've had family members that were in that war. Some are still around, thankfully. We lost 58,000 troops in that war, but yet, years later, found out that the whole Gulf of Tonkin incident, which escalated the war, never even happened. Which makes conspiracy theorists like myself look like geniuses.
But come on, you put conspiracy theories in wrestling. Come on.
The fact, what I find hysterical is that now the directive by Kevin Dunn is to sabotage Kevin Owens. Why would you sabotage a man that is making you money?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would you try to halt the push of somebody that is making you money?
Do you think that just because wrestlers every week come out and say, Kevin Owens is fat, lose weight, that's just part of the script. That's just script.
When you're in the entertainment business, which is what they are in, you do not go on national television and point out the flaws of your performers.
Oh, so he's got flaws. John Cena doesn't have to worry about that.
Oh yeah, Cena doesn't have to worry about things like that. I mean, it's not like more than half the crowd hates him. Oh wait, they do. I mean, it's not like every time he goes out there he botches his moves. Oh wait a minute, he does. It's not like he goes out there and wrestles guys that are better performers than him. Oh wait a minute, he does. And it's not like he only gets the credit for the match. Oh wait a minute, he does. You could call me obsessed. You can call me crazy. I don't give a fuck at this point. I hope he wins the title another 5-6 times and all this shit fucking burns to the ground. I hope that fucking company sinks. That's what I hope for. I hope they fucking learn their lesson through failure. Because
If you don't like it, just stop watching, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy to stop watching something I've been watching religiously for 20 years.
Keep watching it and watching it.
The Mets lost 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is a good thing that fucking Washington's been losing. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble right now. The Mets are starting to lose their momentum. I complain about that fucking team all the time when they fuck up. Does that mean I hate the team? No. I love the New York Mets, just like I love the WWE. But I would
cheer every time their team lost.
I'm sorry?
A real fan cheers when the team loses.
Yeah, I'm gonna cheer. I'm gonna cheer when somebody like Matt Harvey pitches a great game and our relief pitching just fucking blows it for him.
James, those guys know what they're doing. You don't. It's just like wrestling.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've never played in Major League Baseball, so I'm not allowed to critique it. Oh wait a minute. They have tons of sportcasters that have never played the game, but critique it.
Exactly.
Plenty of people that us. I mean, Frank, last I checked, have you ever played for the NFL?
No.
Have you watched Super Bowls before?
Yeah.
Have you ever critiqued any of the plays in the game?
No, because those are championship teams, and they don't make no mistakes at that level.
Yeah, like the last Super Bowl, the last play of the last Super Bowl, which was probably the worst called play in the history of the sport. I mean,
that was actually genius because that's what people expected. Everybody thought that was going to happen, so there's no way they would have done it, so they did it. You understand? Seems everything's not a conspiracy.
I know. Just go with the flow. Don't think. Just do what you're told. Obey. I think that's the shirt That's the shirt I'm gonna start wearing when we do our shows. I'm just gonna wear a shirt that says "Obey" on it.
Yes.
Might as well. I mean, why would I want to think for myself, Frank? I mean, that's so overrated.
And you still think, like Daniel Bryan, you still think that was like the fans. That wasn't the fans. That was WWE. They had scripted it out.
Daniel Bryan was slated.
They were just trolling the fans.
Daniel Bryan was slated to win the WWE title from the moment he got to the WWE. I don't even believe what I just said. The best part is, Frank, you actually have people who think that they brought Batista back to put him in a triple threat match.
That was just a distraction, man.
If they paid that close attention to storylines, I'd have nothing to say.
That was a distraction. Come on, it was just a distraction. It was one big choke on the fans. That's all it was.
Well, that's enough talking about that. We talked about a couple of rumors. We got about 15 minutes left, and I want to talk about a serious matter. I'm going to hold up 2 DVDs. One face you guys will probably think is friendly, and the other one you probably will hate. I understand. Jim Cornette and Vince Russo. Now, don't get me wrong. Vince Russo is far from a genius. He's made a lot of stupid decisions. He's said a lot of stupid shit. But those 2 DVDs that I have are of those 2 men rebooking the InVasion storyline. Frank, you remember the InVasion from 2001, right?
Yes.
All right. What did you feel was missing from that angle?
The top stars.
Top stars of what?
From WCW. We talked about this. The top stars were under contract, and it was fucked from the beginning. They should have really maybe like a few months or a while before those guys got out of their contracts. It was fucked from the beginning.
Interestingly enough, my good friends Christian Caputo and Larry Ortiz were over the house tonight, and we were discussing that very angle. And Christian and Larry collectively came up with some great fucking ideas. Matches like the Outsiders as the WWE Tag Team Champions versus the Dudley Boys. Match like Diamond Dallas Page, the first wrestler to ever be called the People's Champion, versus The Rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. With Hogan as the WWF Champion with the WWF Championship spray painted with NWO on it. Sting, obviously, against The Undertaker, because that's the only match involving those 2 guys that makes any sort of sense whatsoever.
I agree with all those matches are great, but they never happened for one reason or another. I think Hogan and Austin, they couldn't work it out. They couldn't work out doing business together. And like I said, those guys, the top stars in WCW, a lot of those guys were in the contract. So
see now if I
it's a good point to talk about this because it just didn't happen.
Well, I think that one of the things that led to it was the XFL being the flop that it was. I think if Vince didn't spend his money unwisely, maybe he would have taken $5 million and just fucking paid off the top talent. I mean, that angle with guys like Hogan, Hall, Nash, Flair, Sting, the real version of Diamond Dallas Page, and a seriously booked Booker T Whatever money Vince spent to get those guys, he probably would have made it back tenfold. Because if you have a WrestleMania card, and you've got matches like Hogan and Austin, Rock and Page, Taker and Sting, Outsiders versus the Dudleys, Booker T and Chris Jericho, shit like that. Those are fantasy matchups and matchups people would pay to see. And unfortunately, the angle was rushed because if they would have waited a year, they would have had a majority of those guys. That's what drives me nuts. The angle
listen, they probably thought the same thing too, and they probably said in a year people will forget about these guys. And so that's why they had to strike while the iron was hot, you know. That's how I think they thought about it, you know. They thought that all those guys were tainted. They were losing the company money. They were all overpaid, and it didn't make sense for them to take them on, you know. What's their purpose? They won the Raw. It's like, why would they? The purpose
would have been wait a calendar year when all of those guys are under contract, and the angle that they did would have been, number one, it would have been 10 times better. Number two, whatever money they spent on those wrestlers, they would have made back tenfold.
Maybe, but you gotta look at from that position. At that moment, they were riding sky high. They were peaking. They were making money without those guys. So the risk to reward factor was way heavily on them. They probably thought, you know what, maybe we'll get one of the matches that you talked about. We'll really get big, and the others will get forgotten about. You know, that's how they look at it, probably.
Well, I suppose
for the fans, yeah, of course, those are the matches we want to see, but there's reality to also, yeah.
No, absolutely.
And some of those guys from WCW, they weren't ready to step in a WWE ring, you know. You know, a lot of those guys were very limited, you know. That also you have to take into consideration.
No, absolutely. I just thought that it was something that was worth discussing because, you know.
Listen, on paper, everything you said is fantastic. Sign it up right now. But at the time and the place and the settings and the circumstances, listen, I felt the same thing you felt. You know, every week I used to watch the WCW guys show up, get trashed. And I was like, oh, fuck, this sucks, you know, like, they get embarrassed, and now, and it was the same thing with the ECW guys. They couldn't take on all those guys. A lot of those guys weren't ready, you know?
No, I know what you're saying. It's just that, to me, I just felt that they did a piss poor job of doing possibly what could have been the greatest angle of all time.
Another thing, we should have had, Sabu versus Rey Mysterio match. I think those guys would have torn down the house.
No, you're right.
Remember One Night Stand? What was it, 2006? They had a tremendous match. Remember that match?
Yes, I do. Sabu and Rey Mysterio, I remember.
Yeah, they stopped that match. That was like that wasn't part of the script. They were going too crazy. They just stopped the match. They were afraid somebody's going to break their neck.
That's a match I actually did enjoy from that card. And Ray hung with Sabu.
Yeah, Sabu did a springboard onto the table with a DDT, and he drove.
And the match ended. I know.
Yeah. They were both like almost unconscious. That was a good fucking match, man.
Oh, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. And you want to know something else? The second the WCW angle would have been over, I would have started the ECW angle. I would have gave them both their own runs.
You could have even went so far as to make a separate show for them.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I would have had, the WWE show is Monday. The WCW show would have been Thursday. I would have put SmackDown on the back burner until the angle was done. And
I would have kept put SmackDown on Saturdays.
No, but you're talking about during a time where they could only afford 2 shows.
Yeah, see, there you go. it's all about money. It's
No, but the point I'm trying to.
maybe we could have afford to do a third show.
But
It's a lot of money.
the point I'm trying to make is though they could have taken their second show and just made it WCW for that 1 year.
Yeah, maybe they could have made SmackDown part of all of those guys.
No, they could have. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for Frank and I. We pretty much covered everything that we want to cover. I could say I am exceptionally excited to announce that in 5 days' time, I'm going to be meeting The Undertaker. This is the picture. I'm actually going to hold it up. This is the picture I'm going to have him sign. It's of him with the gray gloves and the gray hat and the gray band around the hat. And this picture here that I'm holding in my hands is the picture I took of him when I was 3. Yes, I held on to this picture as long as I could. And to know I'm going to meet him, Frank, you know, I'm fucking nervous, but you want to know what? I'm excited all at once.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Just be yourself, man.
Part of me originally wanted to ask him about the streak ending and why he let it, but a larger part of me just wants to ask him, should I even bother hoping for this match with Sting?
I was probably going to tell you, yeah, keep hoping. It's a good chance.
That's the one thing, the one match I want to see more than anything. I've already ruled out Bryan versus Brock. They're never going to do that match. It is what it is.
That match is never going to happen.
I seriously doubt the WWE even brings back Daniel Bryan. Even though he's been cleared by a neurologist in Arizona, they won't bring him back just due to the fact that he's more over than everybody else in that company. And with him on the roster, they know they can't push their agenda.
I think he'll come back before Survivor Series.
Think so?
Yeah, I think they'll just to sell that pay-per-view, they'll put him in there somewhere. As part of the team, he won't have to do too much, you know.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. That's usually not a saying.
We'll find out next Sunday what happens. We'll see where the chips fall.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for us tonight. Tuesday, I'll be heading to Chicago to Wizard World to meet the man. And then Sunday night, I will be at SummerSlam. So, Frank, if you'd be up for it, maybe Monday night after Raw, would you be up? Would you be up for a recap show?
Definitely.
All right, and Frank and I are gonna get down to business in organizing our own little get together for Survivor Series. Hopefully, maybe we could do a live show, you know, before Survivor Series and give our predictions and such. Survivor Series is usually, you know, so the Big Four is when we usually gather, but since I'm going to SummerSlam, we're not able to do so. So Frank and I will discuss that in depth later on. I appreciate the viewers. Thank you very much. On behalf of Frank and myself, we appreciate it. And one other piece of business that I want to touch before we leave. Unfortunately, since the last time we met, we lost another legend, Roddy Piper. I know Frank grew up, you know, enjoying Roddy Piper. I know I did. I enjoyed his WCW stuff when he was going after the NWO and Hogan a lot as a kid. I just thought that he was, you know, a bad son of a bitch. I really enjoyed Piper. I really enjoyed watching him. I thought he was a great promo. Probably one of the best promos up there with Dusty and The Rock and Paul Heyman. And Roddy's going to be missed. What do you have to say about the Hot Rod, Frank?
Oh, I think for a few years he was the ultimate heel. That to be needed for a couple years straight. So bad by the crowd. Everybody just wanted to see him get his ass kicked, and that's what the heel job is supposed to be. So, and
you would never know that. You would never know that today.
He was a brawler. That's the fancy, no sugarcoating. He was a brawler. The guy was a brawler. Would break everywhere in the book, and always told a great story in the ring, in and out of the ring, and then even more amazingly was just he turns around and comes back as just as popular as Hulk Hogan almost.
He used to say, if you knock me out, wake me up. I comes to fight. And, you know, it sucks when someone that you grew up watching and really liking passes away. It's not easy. For anyone that's a sports fan, anytime an athlete passes away, it sucks. For a wrestling fan, unfortunately, you become accustomed to certain things like this. Wrestlers dying prematurely. I hate that fact that Roddy Piper is now being added to that list. The best thing that we could do as fans, Frank, is to just look back on his matches and look back on the things that made us fans. And yep, you're right. And to put an end to this show, I can't think of a better way to end it by saying thank you, Roddy Piper, for giving your life to the business of pro wrestling, the business that we love. And Godspeed, Roddy Piper.